I'm Ken Schafer, and I'm here to talk about all things related to men's sexual health. Tonight, we're up to you and the ABCs of men's sexual health. So the discussion will be around those words that begin with you. And as I always say, that sexual health is general health with a specific goal. You have to get healthy. You can't expect to keep your sexual health and your ability to perform in the bedroom. When men have ED, it's almost always a sign of a health problem that usually that they're unaware of, but there's a health problem there. And sometimes you're going to be aware of it, sometimes you're not, but it's there. So you need to really focus on your general health and then focus on what will help your sexual health. They're separate things. So the words of the day are urologist and ultrasound. Most men, when they're going to be treated for ED, will go to a urologist. Now, depending on what's causing your ED, you may start with a urologist, but you may need to bring in doctors with other specialties. For instance, an endocrinologist, if you're having problems with your hormones, although many urologists will treat men with low testosterone and other hormonal issues that relate to sexual function. So the urologist is probably the first place you're going to go. But you don't necessarily have to go to a neurologist. There are many other kinds of doctors that specialize in men's health, but you probably want to start with your urologist. Other kinds of doctors that I've had great experiences with are functional medicine doctors and naturopaths. Naturopaths specialize in using natural remedies as much as possible to treat whatever illness you have. I went to a naturopath. He gave me the most extensive set of tests that any doctor ever has given me, that he dived so deeply into how my body was working and what problems there were in there and what needed support. I had some metabolic issues that I didn't know about. I had hormonal issues I didn't know about, and he uncovered them and started treating me with supplements. And I made a lot of progress simply using the supplements. Functional medicine doctors are doctors that have a more holistic approach to medicine. Most doctors in mainstream medicine will focus on a specialty, for instance, urology or endocrinology. And a functional medicine doctor can be useful because they know how all these specialties kind of where they meet. And sometimes someone in one specialty will miss something because something else that they're not acquainted with is going wrong, but it's cascading into a problem that they are seeing and treating. Many times when it comes to ED, doctors are not treating the source of the problem. You go to a urologist, and if your problem is related to metabolic issues, he or she may be stumped as to what's causing your ED. So a functional medicine doctor will, since they look at everything more holistically, will see where these problems overlap and how problems in one area can manifest in another. I have a great urologist. I'll give him a plug here. His name is Dr. Paul Gittins, and he works out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and New York City, New York. He's my urologist. He's excellent. So if you're looking for a urologist, I highly recommend him. How do you pick a good urologist or a doctor for treating ED? And in my experience, and I don't think my experience is unique, most doctors and most urologists who are treating ED are doing a terrible job. There are systemic issues with the way medicine is practiced in the United States. So one of those issues is that this is definitely true of testosterone, and I'm sure it's true of many other standard tests that are out there. So when you get tested for testosterone, what they're testing is what your levels are, and if your levels come back in the normal range, most doctors incorrectly assume that that means you're healthy, and it does not mean that. When they give you a test and say you're normal, that technically they're correct. There are so many unhealthy people in the population that it's normal to see those crappy numbers. So normal does not mean healthy. And my point is, I'm going about this in a very roundabout way. Find a doctor that understands that nuance. Whatever you're being tested for, make sure the doctor understands the difference between what normal levels are and what healthy levels are. And in the case of testosterone, the normal range is for total testosterone is generally between 300 and 1,000. That varies depending on who's doing the test and how the test is being performed and a lot of other things. But it's generally 300 to 1,000, somewhere in there. Anyway, the healthy range for testosterone is 700 to 1,200, and the normal range is 300 to 1,000. So you can see that there's an issue there. There's a whole range from 300 to 700 where the doctors will tell you you're just fine when you're not. And I've had similar experiences with thyroid levels. I had normal thyroid levels, normal meaning normally found within the population, but they were unhealthy. I was at an unhealthy level for my thyroid hormones. I was able to correct that simply by taking supplements. So you need a doctor who understands the nuance between normal test results and healthy test results. The second thing I recommend you look for, the second most important, or one of the most important things to look for in a doctor is a doctor who is not going to just treat your symptoms. A doctor who is going to dig in and find out what the source of the problem is. That may mean pulling in other doctors. It may mean doing a lot of tests. It may be a frustrating experience because the underlying issues may not be apparent or easily found. It may require tests that most doctors don't even order or know how to interpret. But you need a doctor who's gonna do everything he or she can do to find out what the source of the problem is. Many doctors, and this is particularly true of ED, because there's so many possible causes for ED, and many of them have nothing to do with what a urologist would normally look at. There's so many possible reasons why a man could get ED, and they just don't want to do the work to find out what is causing it in each individual case. Instead, they treat the symptoms. They throw Viagra or Cialis or one of the other drugs that are similar, and usually they'll work for a while. And again, I've said this time and time again, eventually they almost always stop working because the underlying issue is not being addressed and is probably getting worse over time. So a doctor that understands the nuances of test results, if you get nothing else from what I'm saying tonight, just remember normal does not mean healthy. And a doctor who's going to dig in and find the source of the underlying issue. Ultrasound. Now, ultrasound is a diagnostic tool that's used for many, many things. Almost everyone's heard of ultrasound. It's used anytime they want to get a picture of what's going inside your body without cutting you open, one of the main tools they have is ultrasound. And ultrasounds are used by doctors, and they can test the blood flow in the penis. And this is an important test. Many doctors don't even bother with it. Why, I don't know. But it's important to know but what problems you're having with blood flow in your penis. I went to a urologist. When I asked him to do the test, he refused. He felt that it wasn't worth the effort. He also looked at my testosterone results, which were terrible, and said that I was perfectly healthy. I never went back to him after one visit. I never went back to him. And you should do that too. You should be asking your doctors the tough questions to weed out the majority of doctors who are practicing lazy medicine. I'm not saying that they don't mean well, but they're trained to practice a lazy form of medicine. And they're also being trained to cover their asses. They're afraid to do things to help their clients because they're afraid of being sued or falling out of favor with some medical organization. They're also beholden to the insurance companies that often they will look for any excuse not to cover what you need in order to become healthy. That's true for testosterone because the insurance companies don't understand the nuance that normal does not mean healthy. So if you have a normal level of testosterone, they're not going to pay for your testosterone. Fortunately, there are compounding pharmacies, and you can get testosterone relatively cheap if you go to a compounding pharmacy. If you go through CVS or one of the chains of pharmacies, CVS, Walmart, whatever, you're going to be paying several $100s for a month's supply of testosterone. And you can go to compounding pharmacies and get it for like $50. But my point is that the insurance companies will not pay, and the doctors will therefore not prescribe. Now, if you're interested in herbal supplements, and I hope that you are, a lot of people refuse to consider taking supplements. They don't think they do well or do anything. The reality is that supplements are only going to help you if there's something your body's missing. So there is an art to finding the supplements you need. There are some things that there's widespread problems with, like vitamin D, magnesium, to name two off the top of my head. Those are two things that most people need to supplement. Not everybody, but most people. My point is, supplements do work. They have worked for me. If it weren't for supplements, my thyroid levels would be too low, or I would be on thyroid medication, which has a bunch of side effects. I know that the same supplement will not work for everybody. Everybody's different. Everyone has different needs. Everyone has a different diet. Everyone's body has different metabolic issues and different gut issues that affect your ability to absorb nutrients. There's an art to trying to find the right supplements. And I have a couple of blog articles on my website that I discuss this, and I give you kind of a plan, a way to go about finding supplements that will help you. And most people just shotgun it. They take a bunch of things that they've heard are great and that have helped their friend or their sister or brother or whatever. And so they're just taking a bunch of stuff. Some of it might be helping and some of it might be doing nothing. It can give you the tests you need to find out which supplements are likely to help you. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.